is Jessica Chan here with Pathway Christian Prep, here to bring useful information to parents and school-aged children. Now today we're going to talk about how to get your child ready for kindergarten. And if you haven't already, go check out our blog post, How to Prepare My Child for Kindergarten, on our website. It's www.pathwaychristian.org/blog. The blog has some more tidbits and links if you want to dive deeper into the subject. But for today, our video is just going to go over a general summary of what we talked about in the blog post. Now, for parents that have 4 to 5-year-olds at home, I'm speaking to you today. Or maybe you have a toddler at home and you just want to get a head start and start looking into kindergarten options for your child. That's great. It's never too early to get started on preparing for your child's education. Now, kindergarten is quite an exciting time, isn't it? Because it almost feels like it's the official start to your child's formal education. But where do you begin? How do you even know that your child is ready for kindergarten? Okay, so before we head into the nitty-gritty, I wanted to preface with 2 things that I want you to think about before you think about your child's readiness. Now, the first thing is look at your local state standards for kindergarten. Now, I live in California, and in California, they've implemented transitional kindergarten for several years now. And what that means is students whose birthdays fall between a certain time period, they have to head into transitional kindergarten, which comes first, and then the following year they can go into kindergarten. So my daughter, her birthday is in September, and she falls into that category. So she's actually going to start with transitional kindergarten first before she can qualify to go into kindergarten next year. Now, if you want to look at your state standards, we have a link in our blog post. Click on that link. It breaks down every single state and what their standards are, if they have transitional kindergarten or if they just have kindergarten, and what birth dates will put your child into which category. Okay, now the next thing I want to preface, number 2, is to look in the type of school that you want for your child. Now, nowadays, public school is not the only option, and it's not the only affordable option for parents anymore. Especially with COVID and Zoom classes and all that, there's a lot of options for us now. Private school has always been there, charter schools, homeschooling has gained a lot of popularity. Now, I know not all parents are available to homeschool. There's co-ops where parents and teachers work together to educate children. There's online schools such as Pathway Christian Prep, which I highly recommend. And there's also a hybrid mode that a lot of parents are really into these days, which is homeschooling on certain days, sending your kids to a private school that will take them for subsequent days of the week. And there are plenty of schools that actually will take students for certain classes of the week or just certain days. So there are lots of options out there. I encourage you to do some research, visit some schools, call them, ask questions. Don't be afraid to look into all the options and see what works best for your family. Okay, so now that we're done prefacing those 2 things, we're going to look into kindergarten readiness. What are the standards that educators are looking for right now? In my blog post, I break it down into 2 different categories. The first is social emotional skills. The second is cognitive and motor skills. Now, when I talk about social emotional, it's basically looking at your child's independence and if they've reached certain milestones, some fundamental developmental, physical milestones of being able to do things by themselves. Okay, an example of that is, can they be separated from parents at school? Can they say bye to mom and dad and be perfectly fine emotionally as they head into school? Or do they still struggle with separation anxiety and cry at drop-offs? Okay. Can they listen to instructions and follow directions from a teacher? Can they sit still for a certain period of time and listen to their teacher talk? Can they line up? Okay. Basic things like that almost like the fundamentals of what kids are practicing and learning inside of preschool, of lining up, doing this, washing their hands, having a structure where they follow and listen, is the social and emotional category that we're looking at. Now, some of the skills that I listed, you might be thinking, my child needs to practice a little bit more of being okay when saying goodbye to mom or dad, or they need to practice listening to instructions a little bit better. Now, there are really practical and easy ways to practice with your child these skills at home. Now, some of them will look like small house tasks that you do with your child and giving them just a little bit of responsibility so that they can feel proud of themselves and learn how to take responsibility for small things. Now, some small examples of that would be having your child set the table for dinner. The fork goes here, the napkin goes under the fork. Small things like that. Or picking out their clothes the night before and putting it out, on their nightstand or their table. And so when they wake up, they know exactly what they're going to wear and they can put it on themselves. Scheduling a regular routine. Now, this is a really great one because having a regular routine like breakfast, getting dressed, brushing your teeth, breakfast, an activity, going for a walk, the list goes on and on. Having that regular routine sets them up for what a school schedule would be like. Now, you know that when school starts, I don't want to say it's a rigid schedule, but it's a regular schedule. You got to get there at a certain time. Classes start at a certain time. Then there's snack time. Then there's recess. And there's this lesson and that lesson. And they do it all over again the next day. So if you create a regular routine at home, it gets your child ready and prepared and with set expectations of what it's like when they go to school. Okay, so now moving on to the second category, which is motor skills and cognitive development. Motor skills that they're looking for kindergarten readiness would be things like picking up a pencil, bouncing a ball, being able to dress yourselves independently, being able to go to the restroom, wash their hands, do all of that independently. Cognitive abilities would be counting from 1 to 10, being able to recognize letters, some basic shapes, basic colors. Now, they don't have to know all of them perfectly, but be able to recognize them and know some of them is a great indicator that they're ready to start kindergarten. Some skills that they could practice at home, one of them is really fun, is song and play. Now, maybe you're not into singing songs and getting silly, but this is where preschool comes in clutch because they sing tons of songs in preschool that teach really basic terms and skills and movements to your child. Things like head, shoulders, knees, and toes, body parts they learn. Songs about colors, songs about counting, obviously the alphabet. Song teaches all of the letters of the alphabet. Little things like that are a great way for kids to memorize and listen daily, listen while they're doing something else, and then they can learn those basic terms. Through playtime, if you have blocks, building blocks at home, kids can play with building blocks and identify different shapes and categorize them. They can also say you have cars, little toy cars. They can categorize their cars and count them. And then you can identify each color of the car with your child. And then you can mix and match and do different activities, like adding little numbers on top of each car and having them identify what number each one is. So there's lots of creative ways that you could play with your child at home. And the best thing about playing is that kids learn a lot through fun, playing, and games. What's fun for them engages them, and you want to engage them because that gets them learning more easily. Another way to practice this skill is through chores, which I really like. And it's not to say you're going to dump all these chores on your little child, but if you can get them to help you with some simple things like sorting laundry, if you can get your son or daughter to sort their clothes with you, they can categorize, these are all my shirts, And now I'm gonna put all my pants in one pile, and I'm gonna put all my socks in one pile. And now I'm gonna identify the colors of all my clothes. Like, oh, all my pants happen to be blue and black. How funny. And then counting the number of socks that I have. Okay, these little simple everyday tasks are great ways that you could teach your kids these skills. Now, at the end of the day, every child is different and unique, and they're gonna be at varying levels of skill set and development, and that's okay. Kindergartens aren't asking that every child be a whiz at every single subject or topic before they're allowed to enter kindergarten. These are just basic guidelines to give parents a baseline to see, where is my child falling at this readiness standard right now? And what can I do at home to get them more prepared so that they can successfully start kindergarten the day that they're ready? So that's all I have for today. Thanks for listening in. Feel free to comment or ask any questions down below in our link. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and look at our blog posts that come up weekly on our website, pathwaychristian.org/blog. And follow us on our social accounts. The links are all below. We'll be giving some resources and tips and also information about our online school. Thanks for listening again, and hope to see you next time. Bye.